The statistics part you mentioned, right? So breast cancer is definitely a major issue today. 2,000 lives go every day because of this disease. That's 684,000 women per year. And unfortunately, more than 50% of these cancer deaths are coming from Asia. Every alternate lady detected with breast cancer in India is dying within 2 to 5 years, right? So, in whatever way you think, early detection is very, very important. Obviously, saving lives.
We always say, okay, women to be strong and to be resilient, and so the problem is that anything pain or anything, they're just trying to go through. Well, they try to take care of the family, but they don't even take care of themselves and go and get the early test on time. So that's the general problem we see.
A lot
Get
of
that.
awareness spreading. The good part
Yeah.
is instead of going and saying, hey, do self-breast examination, do look for lump and go to hospitals and so on, if you actually in the same time, if you go and do this test, Thermalytix test in the same village, they'll remember the recall rates are much higher. Oh yeah, I did the test, I need to go again, I go on. So we do this awareness as well as the test today. If I have to give one main advice to anyone who's doing clinical healthcare kind of startup, it would be that don't underestimate the power of clinical studies. It's extremely important.
That's one thing which I take to my heart, and probably I do it or practice it every day, even now, anything of that sort.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of being curious, enjoying learning.
What does NIRAMAI mean? And there is a expansion for it. I want you to explain that.
NIRAMAI means no diseases in Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest languages of India. There is a saying called Sarve Santu Niramaya, let everyone be happy.
If you've made it this far, you're clearly into deep, meaningful conversations around health, lifestyle, and the science behind how we. 60% of people who watch these episodes haven't subscribed yet. If you enjoy these insights, my humble request is to please consider hitting that subscribe button. It will help us bring much more curious minds, expert voices, and keep the show going. Thank you.
Welcome to Caffelogue with Naga, where we bring conversations that matter. Today on my show, I'm deeply honored to welcome a visionary at the intersection of artificial intelligence, healthcare, and social impact. Someone whose work you can literally say is saving lives. Dr. Geetha Manjunath is the founder, CEO, and the CTO of NIRAMAI Health Analytics, a trailblazing health tech company that is redefining how breast cancer screening is done across India and around the world. Through her company's flagship technology, Thermalytix, Dr. Geetha Manjunath has combined the power of AI, thermal imaging, and machine learning to create a non-invasive, radiation-free, affordable, and privacy-friendly breast cancer screening solution. One that works for women of all ages, including those with dense breast tissues who are often missed by conventional methods. Her journey is nothing but inspirational. A gold medalist and a PhD holder from the Indian Institute of Science with management education from Kellogg School of Management, Chicago. Dr. Geetha Manjunath brings over 3 decades of cutting-edge research and innovation experience, from being part of the team that built India's first supercomputer to leading artificial intelligence research at global labs at HP and Xerox. Dr. Geetha Manjunath has received numerous international and national awards, including the CSI Gold Medal, the BIRAC Women in Entrepreneurial Research Award, and the recognition on Forbes list of top 20 self-made women in India. She's also been named Women Entrepreneur of the Year and Accenture Vahini Innovator of the Year, and holds scores of patents for her work in AI-driven diagnostics. In 2023, she stood before the United Nations General Assembly not as a traditional diplomat, but as a technologist and social entrepreneur,
Detecting breast cancer using artificial intelligence.
to highlight the global burden of breast cancer and the role that accessible AI-enabled screening can play in saving millions of lives. Under her leadership, NIRAMAI's technology has already reached hundreds of thousands of women across multiple continents, dramatically widening the access to early detection where traditional methods still fall short. Today we will explore not only the science and innovation behind NIRAMAI, but also the human story the ethical questions of AI in healthcare, and the future of early detection. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Geetha Manjunath to our show.
It's such an honor and pleasure to have you back, Dr. Geetha Manjunath. I know we've had a discussion on women empowerment earlier, but I think I wanted to definitely do a dedicated session for NIRAMAI and the breast cancer awareness, and also talk about AI. I mean, who else could do share the experience better than you on AI, being a pioneer in the industry for so many years now. Welcome back, Geetha ma'am, to my show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Naga, for creating this platform for sharing stories about AI, stories about people. So glad to be back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to I split this conversation because it's 1 hour or probably 1.5 will not be sufficient to talk about your journey. It's so much looking at your accomplishment and what you're bringing to the healthcare, what you've brought to healthcare in India, and also taking that technology globally. So, but I'll try to do justice as much as I can. But I split the conversation into three parts. One, let's start with your personal journey, which is definitely an inspiring journey for people to know about. And we move to Niramai, and definitely, I would talk about AI and get your perspective and your expert view on a lot of different, conversations happening around AI. So we go with that flow. So, starting from your personal journey, I think you've led AI lab with Xerox and HP. So I mean, you started in AI or probably the engineering or the computer science at the time when not many would actually venture into or have an understanding of engineering. So, I think what I understood is you've led PARAM on building the first supercomputer from India. So please share some insight of your journey of venturing into computer science, and how did you took AI, which even the last 15 years is got caught up, and with the last 5 years, it's even more with ChatGPT and things coming in, right? But you have been in that place for so long, so I think it's a
Sure.
fascinating
So I
journey to
can
hear.
share I can definitely share my journey from the beginning in some sense. So I did my master's from Indian Institute of Science in Computer Science and Automation Department. It did pretty well. While I did have chances of going abroad, but I wanted to be Mera Bharat Mahan, so I wanted to stay back in India. I wanted to do research in India if possible. And at that time, the supercomputing research was the possibly the only research group, which was completely nicely funded by the government as well. They were actually building the first supercomputer from India. I didn't lead it at all. That was my first job as one of the youngest engineer in that team when I started off way back. 30 years ago. So that was good, just a lot of opportunity to learn. It was an excellent passionate team of very accomplished researchers and so on, trying to sort of build this with a lot of nationalism feeling. uh, so I got to learn a lot of things first in the integration team, then uh, coming with a compiler kind of compiler design background from IASC. I had specialized in that. So I went on to lead their compiler team, compiler and tools team. Um, what's called as parallelizing compilers. So, basically you write in a simple, at that time, science programs were written in Fortran. So you write that and it automatically converts into multiple programs that can run on multiple processes, GPU type. That used to be 860 at that time. So similar computing processor, co-processors were there. How do you sort of break up that and do this completely automatically? So it was an excellent project. I was a wonderful team to work with. And after that, HP was looking to start their research activities in India, and they were looking for somebody to lead that activity. And they reached out to me. I thought it was a good idea to show Indians can do research. So I joined HP Labs. That time it was just a team inside another organization of HP. So that was very nice. I got to interact with international researchers at HP, going there and presenting ideas, implementing it, so on. And I also learned how they do research is very different from how we were doing more academic type research at that time, where what they usually think about in the US was that also high level problem statement and what is the unknown in that solution for that problem statement, and then getting into kind of tops down approach and then trying to solve the key things that requires to be solved to solve that bigger problem, which is probably life changing. So that was very interesting, and it was a huge learning for me to interact with my fellow researchers in Palo Alto, and so on. And so so I brought back that ideas into HP, and we started formulating bigger problem statements, more meaningful to the life of people, and trying to identify specific research issues and then trying to solve that. So anyway, I was a principal scientist at HP Labs for almost 17 years, working on different projects, different cutting edge. Last 5 years of that was spent completely in emerging market focused newer projects, etc. After that, I decided to sort of move on, and I did my PhD in parallel at IISc, and I joined Xerox Research to head the AI lab. Incidentally, when I went back to do my PhD, that's when AI, the research aspects of AI were coming along. And that was something that I had not experienced in my research scientist experience. Right? And AI required me to learn a lot of probability, statistics, a lot of mathematical basis for understanding the machine learning algorithms, etc. So when I went back to school after 15, 16 years of working, that's when AI was really maturing from an algorithmic perspective. Of course, I had heard about AI before, backpropagation, neural networks, etc. But at that time, I was super interested in only systems research. When I went back, this was early 2000, is when I realized that there is a lot of good newer elements that are coming in from an algorithm, machine learning, all those perspectives. And so that gave me a good background on not just the systems but also the algorithm. Sorry, it's a long story, but and Xerox also thought, because I was leading their lab, they sponsored me for Kellogg Chicago management education. It was nice to learn both the managerial aspect, technical aspects, and so on. So it was an excellent experience leading a team of 70 to 80 people, very passionate researchers and research engineers at Xerox as the AI lab director. We used to call it data analytics at the time. And everything was going well. We were trying to solve interesting problems, business relevant problems in customer care, for example, education, transportation, and also, of course, healthcare. We're working with a lot of doctors. Unfortunately, a personal incident happened where I lost one of my very close cousin sister to breast cancer. She was just 42 years at that time with a small child. And that made me sort of read about breast cancer. Why is this disease, affecting young women? And then I thought, okay, why don't we do some research to see how we can reduce the deaths due to breast cancer, etc. And I started off the research initially within the larger lab structure that I had, with all the management approval and so on. And after about a year, we felt that it's not possible to go full on with something that is not completely business aligned, and quit my job and started NIRAMAI. So it's been 8 years now, and it's been a very fruitful journey. I would say last year, World Economic Forum called us out as top 20 technology pioneers in the world. It's a proud feeling because we have now invented a new method of detecting breast cancer.
Amazing. Yeah, it's truly an inspiration. I mean, inspiration for a lot of people, right? I think um, starting being in a cutting edge space at the time when it is we don't even know it's going to be cutting edge, or and then you started into starting from building part of the team building supercomputer. Nobody would have thought that we're going to compete with the world in building that, and probably. I mean, it's sometimes certain things happen for a reason. So you're also part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then that give you an experience of moving into, I mean, you talked about 2000 and machine learning. I think probably not many people uh, um, people know about probability if you're in mathematics, but not necessarily machine learning, and how do we actually apply that from a solving business problems. So which is pretty probably new. I think you would have had a lot of challenges. I think today we talk about a lot of consulting companies doing strategies on AI, and how do we solve business problems and strategies. But you've done that and dusted for so many years, right? There is no term associated to it at that point in time, but I think you've been doing it. So it's an amazing. I think
But
from
what
there to
AI
becoming a
is
social
last.
entrepreneur. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say that what AI is now, with all the LLMs and GPT, etc., coming in the last, I guess, even 4 to 5 years, is,
Yes.
my God, mind-boggling how the technology has developed over time, and it's extremely wonderful to see what all we are able to achieve, which used to take weeks together, taking minutes now, right, with the faster systems coming in. So it's a very, very welcome change. While the basics remain the same, but this is interesting.
True.
Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Technology. Development, I was talking to somebody, he said, while technology development is definitely a good part of it, the problem, it's also the solution. So sometimes we have to walk that line to make sure that we use it for betterment of the society, and not doesn't harm. um, that's one thing to look for. But I think from there to becoming a social entrepreneur, so I think the journey wouldn't have been so easy. I think you've started with the personal loss, and then I think the conviction of, okay, I'm seeing this as a pattern, and then and that too, it's happening at for young women, not old, and I have to really do something from a research capacity, and starting that as an initiative within your lab, and then trying to move out and build NIRAMAI. So I don't think so. It would have been an easy journey in terms of first is conceptualizing, and not coming from a background of where entrepreneurs, and then you just ventured into because there is an idea, and I want to do something good for society, and how do we do that? So, I mean, please talk about and share your experience of becoming an entrepreneur, and last 8 years successfully establishing. It's not easier for any person to just become an entrepreneur, and also specifically in the healthcare space, because it's not just an impact which is I mean, it's not just an ROI or probably business impact, but it's also impacting us individually, every person, and any mistake is actually a bit costlier. And when you're actually doing anything in healthcare, so maybe please walk through that journey. It's very interesting, right? And it's challenging too.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, when we started off, the good part was, when I decided to launch my management, was supportive of sort of letting go of the IP. Of course, there were good IP
Mm.
agreements and, payments, etc., were done. But they did, and so I had a comfortable founding team with whom I had worked together before. So I sort of pitched to some of my team members, including my some of the tech team members who were working in the earlier version of the project, etc. And so four of us actually became the founding team members. And Nidhi had spent some time in startup ecosystem before, so that I thought, okay, we can learn from each other. And then, of course, I had Shiva and Himanshu with me, and another couple of people whom had worked at HP before. I pulled them along. So we were like 6 people. We kind of started off. I think the main change is that suddenly you realize what a brand value is versus your identity itself, right? So that was very interesting because I remember. Somebody called me for a tech talk, like I was giving a lot of talks on AI and other things before. So they called me and said, yeah, yeah. And then I told you, just for you to know that I've quit Xerox now and started a startup. Oh, is it? Can you suggest somebody else from Xerox to do the talk? I said, like, what? You
Wow.
wanted to hear a talk? So that, of course, it's changed now. And, a lot of people want to hear about, I like
You
this
did that
one,
TED
which
talk
is
7 years back. I saw that. Oh, I mean,
yeah, I've done many of those, but one of them, like, so that's one. And then the doctors who were kind of Um, I used to wait like 2 hours, 3 hours to get 5 minutes of a doctor's time because I was just Geetha at that time. Niramai was not even like a word anybody recognized. And as opposed to Xerox, HP, when you go with a badge, it's a different kind of an environment. But that gave me, and of course, financially also, we had to sort of raise funds and so on. Thankfully, we found excellent investors who believed in our vision and ability to deliver, and so we got started off. So both ways, right? It was an excellent journey. But as you also pointed out, the lack of knowledge of the domain, which was the cancer detection piece, was actually not just at the time of starting. Even when I started the project, I started reading about breast cancer, discussing with a lot of camera specialists, imaging specialists like Dr. Mehta, etc. And also, we spoke to multiple radiologists even when we started off the project. And they continue to be friends and mentors even now, right? And I read a no, I guess in the last 8 years, I've read very little of computer science books and more of medical books. And I've attended almost all radiology, RSNA, we call it, largest radiology conferences every year that happens in Chicago. Largest breast cancer conference happens in San Antonio. I've attended almost many, like 6 to 7 times in the last 8 years. So being like kind of immersed in that domain is very very important, and that's something with the help of friends, mentors, and these conferences and a lot of immense amount of knowledge that's available on the web, we were able to sort of get that knowledge and then fine tune our algorithms to say, okay, what makes sense and what should the product look like, because no one had ever really tried thermal imaging for breast cancer. Of course, there were a few pockets of doctors. Later, we figured out that they had tried to use, but our aim was to make an affordable, accessible method of screening for breast cancer, even in young women, right? And so when we added the AI part of it, which was the main innovation, you go to a doctor, they say like, "Oh, you're not even a medical doctor. How come, you're coming up with some new thing and say it works?" So and also will AI replace me? And already that kind of initial feelers had already started off. So yeah, many times it was difficult to get the right kind of mindset, matching mindset, clinical partners. And the only solution was scientifically testing whether the method that we are proposing is working or not. Literally scientifically going head to head. I'll do screenings of, let's say, 500 people. Every person takes our test and the previous methods that were existing, and then doing a test, head to head comparison, like literally a question paper and answer key kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
Prospective setting. And this we had to do, not in the lab, but give the tool in the hands of the people, hands of the doctors who showed interest in the test, but they were skeptical. Even I was skeptical in the beginning, because does it really work? We just jumped off, but doesn't mean that it should work. And so that was really helpful to get complete clinical studies done. So I think if I have to give one main advice to anyone who's doing clinical healthcare kind of startup, it would be that don't underestimate the power of clinical testing, right? Clinical studies, it's extremely important. And and with that, we were able to get the confidence of some of the doctors to try out our solution, provide our test to their patients, sometimes along with existing methods, sometimes independently, because there were gaps in the existing methods which were not being addressed effectively before. And also, we partnered with cancer societies to conduct camps outside the hospital. Like I remember getting up at like 5 o'clock, going with the cancer camp to rural areas, doing the camps and so on. So it's been an excellent journey, like from a corporate employee to an entrepreneur, I would say, because the speed is in your hands, literally most of the cases, right? And you get to make quicker decisions, hopefully sane decisions. And it's a smaller team, it's more like family. You can move so fast, is what I definitely felt. And the whole ecosystem is also nowadays supporting startups. They're able to accept the concept of startup, thanks to Modi ji, which has changed in India as well. So that kind of helped as well. Last but not the least, I think there are a lot of these accelerator programs. Acceler was running an accelerator program. Then we got into Google Startup Accelerator Program. Many other of these accelerator programs, which we managed to qualify and get selected, really helped us fast track some of the knowledge gaps that we had for the domain and what needs to be done to make a medical device. I'll pause here. I think I can go on and on if you let me.
If you made it this far, you're clearly into deep, meaningful conversations around health, lifestyle, and the science behind how we. 60% of people who watch these episodes haven't subscribed yet. If you enjoy these insights, my humble request is to please consider hitting that subscribe button. It will help us bring much more curious minds, expert voices, and keep the show going. Thank you.
I think thank you so much for. I mean, it's any story or journey to hear from an entrepreneur. It's very emotional because you've lived through that. So of course, it's you cannot put words sometimes and limit your thought process. So it's to a journey which is real. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. But I think I noted a specific point which is important for anybody who wants to venture into starting a company or entrepreneur is the sharing the inhibition, because you said it's not like the brand what you carry prior when you're working in a company to when you start completely scratch with an idea. I think the brand, creating that brand, and probably people look at Niramai now to probably 8 years back would have been different, and it's only Geetha, as you said, and they believed in that conviction what you had, but to get there it took a lot of time, and you'll have to wait, you have to take that effort to actually meet multiple people. That's an important personality trait which the patients, and again especially where there is a lot of data involved in healthcare, it's not easy to collect that even, and it's a human study, it's not even a rat study, or probably and that would takes time, and to collect such real data, it's also challenging. So I think you would have gone through that process of when there's something is not available. I
Absolutely.
don't think so the thermal sensing data would be available. I think people have been only doing mammogram from breast cancer standpoint. Probably those would be pretty much available. So I think what the takeaway is for anybody is to shed inhibitions. It just to have that objective and conviction, right? I think
Absolutely.
probably in for you as well. I think Niramai was not just an innovation, but probably the way how you have processed your loss, and how the emotional truth or emotional journey has shaped a discipline to see how I can curb or probably end breast cancer in women or in general. For probably this also leads to how do we leverage this technology for any other cancer which is probably which can be used through thermal sensing. I think it's an amazing journey. I think that's the takeaway. I think if I note down from an entrepreneurial journey, I think talking about, I know this probably would have been, this is not something which you've built, after you quit the corporate and moved into entrepreneurial. I know that mindset of looking at something, curiosity. So probably it's more from a childhood, right? Because what I understand is you've been more interested in computer science and probably computers, and maybe want to share some uh, your childhood or quick memory which you
Sure.
think which is actually you still believe. That's one thing which I take to my heart, and probably I do it or practice it every day even now, anything of that sort.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of being curious about everything, enjoying learning. That aha moment, right? Okay, we can do everything for money, that's okay. But really, no. Actually, there is so many other type of happiness that you get, right? So I think my first curiosity piece started off when I was very, very small girl. When my father used to sort of, repair everything at home. So he used to open up at that time radio. I remember like opening it up. Look, it used to be huge, not small phones which have that. So they used to open up and then solder some things inside because he was just interested in doing it himself. And so I used to peek through how does it work? How does the sort of current come from here to here? How does the for sound come? So these like curious to know about how things work is something that from the beginning I felt. And every bit of learning, I used to have a lot of enjoyment, like literally. I remember sitting in a maths class once, and then he was teaching, I guess, integration and so on. And I said, I did in my class, and then the doctor said, sorry, the teacher said, okay, looks like
Teacher.
somebody got a sweet. I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't know. I mean, that is one trait I think even now, when I mean, there's so many things in life and in the world. You can't know everything, and so you should be open and curious to learn as much as possible, right? I always say learn one thing. It doesn't matter from whom, right? So that's important. And when you start enjoying that, you generally start developing skills to listen in the right way, right? There are different things happening around the world, but where there is a possibility to learn and become a better person, I think. So I think that is one thing that whether technical or non-technical, that's something I completely treasure, and it has helped. It has definitely helped in different ways,
True.
in the
I think,
journey over here.
yeah. I mean, you're. I mean, what you're saying is very. I mean, a lot of people forget about the momentary happiness and what we are doing, and enjoying the process instead of looking at only how it's going to be, whether I will do better or
Yeah,
not. So I think it's
enjoying the
very
journey. Yeah,
important. Yeah, it's about enjoying that process. What happens, the outcome is when you put in your 100%. Of course, the outcome is going to be a byproduct of it, right? But you need to enjoy the process. Yeah, I think. And also, I think what I can relate to is more of a childlike mentality, right? Constant learning, and keep open, on looking at things around, and not just close, and
yeah,
have a blindsided view about anything. So yeah, I think, thank you for sharing that. I think I want you to talk about this. Niramai. What does Niramai mean? And there is a expansion for it, right? So probably I want you to explain that.
sure,
It's very
sure.
interesting.
Yeah, sure, sure. So when we started off, I'm like this, right? So it has to be a Sanskrit name. It has to have a meaning, and it has to have an expansion, and it should be easy on everyone's tongue, like including like um, Japanese, US, Europe, because I was
Yes.
always thinking global. Thanks to my HP and Xerox, I feel like world is very small place, and it's very like so many common things around people. Like that's what I feel. So this is a thought. So we actually brainstormed in the lunch times, at Xerox itself, right? So we used to kind of write down different names, two, three of us, writing names and so on and so forth. And finally, we came up with this Niramai. It stuck because Niramai means no diseases in Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest languages, I believe, of India. Um, there is a saying called Sarve Santu Niramayaha, let everyone be healthy. That is no disease. This is something that it stuck. And initially, we put that as a motto. And I said, like, why can't this itself be our name of the company? And as usual, we wanted expansion. So we said non-invasive risk assessment through machine artificial intelligence. Earlier, it was MAY. So it said for you. But then we didn't get a DNS name, which was niramai.com, MAY, because it was very expensive. Then one of my team members said, "Why don't you put AI?" Then anyway, we are using AI. I said, "Like great idea." So
Yes.
we made it Niram.ai or Niramai, and it stuck on, right? We do have AI at the end. The expansion is non-invasive risk assessment through machine artificial intelligence. So that's the expansion, and we basically have actually developed a non-invasive breast health cancer or breast cancer risk assessment at this point in time, where we just measure the temperature variations on the chest using an infrared imaging device and convert that into a cancer health report, quantitative report with scores, with the markings, and also predicting what's the probability that she actually may have a malignancy completely automatically with a bunch of AI algorithms. It's not just one will say, ha ha. No, there are about 20, 25 actually AI algorithms which make into the whole solution, because a lot of things happen, right? And we can go into more details, but essentially, the lady enters, she just sits in front of the device like a camera, and it's an infrared camera, so it's actually placed 2 feet from the person.
Hmm.
And in order to bring in the contrast, we blow cool air for about 2 minutes. It's completely within a small room or a curtain protected privacy, right? So no one sees her, no one touches her. Of course, she has to remove her top clothes, but there is no touch. Just we blow cool air for about 5 minutes. Click, 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 5 images, and that's it. She wears her clothes and comes out. Her report will be ready. Of course, we may not give the report immediately to her. Many times we actually get it reviewed by a radiologist, especially in a hospital setting. But in a rural setting where it's very difficult to get a radiologist quickly, so we give a triage report instantly. And only for people who come out as high risk, we basically subject them to a detailed report and review by the doctor. So this is what um the technology does. With this, we have been able to detect very, very small cancer, stage zero, if you want, like 4 millimeters the least
Wow.
we have actually measured to detect. We are able to detect it in women of all age groups, 17-year-old. Yes, we have detected 92-year-old. Also, we have detected because thermal imaging basically is a proxy for the tissue activity and vascular activity, blood flow, right? Both are what is irregular in a cancer setting. Irregular multiplication of cell, and when cells are multiplying at faster rate, there is irregular flow of blood flow to one area compared to the other. So these kind of um, clinical functional elements is what we are able to model using our machine learning algorithms. And also, it is portable, right? You can it's as small as the mic that you have in front,
Right.
so you can either take it out and do the screening in rural areas, corporate offices, at home, or of course use it inside a hospital as well. So that makes access much, much more simpler for people who are refusing to come and take a screening on a regular basis. And affordability is also just 10% of the current methodologies that exist. So obviously, many more people can get access and afford to get the screening test done with this. Last but not the least, it is, as I said, no touch, no see, no pain, no radiation. So it's a very simple privacy-aware test that has come out to be over the time.
So it is. I think it's a very breakthrough innovation in this space, right? And I think it's non-invasive, risk assessment, um, machine artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah, we
So
just made
for
up MAI, but yeah, we could have said AI, but we wanted an M, so we
yeah.
said machine artificial.
So AI, anyway, it has AI in it, so that's a good part of it. I think whoever suggested that, it's a kudos to that person. So AI, everybody wants that dot AI today. Interesting.
Not at
I think
that time. That time it was not
yeah,
so fashionable.
true. Got it. But thank you for sharing that the journey or story behind the name, and and what it actually does. So today, I mean, I read this when I was trying to make sure talk to you about this, but I was reading Radical, which is a science, culture, and the history of breast cancer in America by Kate Pickert. So I think it's a similar journey. But it's her own experience of going through the breast cancer and creating awareness. But I think it's pretty much across the globe. You've been spending time for the last 7 years in understanding the pattern of and why early detection is important. So maybe I wanted to get the sense from or understanding from you in terms of the awareness versus action. So today we still see late detection in breast cancer, and how much of that you see, I mean, globally as well as in India, and you see that again, doing early detection through Thermalytix, or through NIRAMAI's thermal I mean, is it Thermalytix?
Sure.
I can. So thermal sensing imaging, how much, probably after you started getting this into the hospitals, you have a post collection, data collection for probably a certain time, and you see that many of one is, I want to say, how many people have uh, it is like as good as an yearly MRI you want to do, or probably yearly screening of blood test, or whatever you physical wellness test that you do. I mean, you this is added part of it, which means that you just do a screening and you avoid getting cancer in the future. But also, what does the data shows you from a detection of somebody who's having early breast cancer, and probably we're able to find it ahead of time instead of them waiting. So maybe the two types of data you could have seen from the past 7 years of looking at using
Yeah.
this
So
in
a lot of
hospitals.
data we've seen. Of course, as you said, there was absolutely no data of breast thermal images when I started off. So we had to collect every bit of the data. So far, I guess, uh, 3.75 lakh women have undergone our test so far. So it's a pretty good impact. Most
Globally.
of them from India. Yeah, most of them from India, but we do have presence in presence and partners in 20 countries where we have at least one or like one or more installations as well. But the maximum number of women have been in India. Then Philippines, we have done about thousands, 12,000, 15,000 women there. Thailand, we've done thousands like that. So done in many places. Even in US, we have a few centers who are using our test. Europe as well, we have, and so on. Europe, Sweden, Bulgaria, etc. as well. Africa, many other places we have right now, Guatemala, and all of that.
Wow.
Now, yeah, so
I mean,
these were
those are
all
places which
incoming
is definitely
leads
needed.
needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they we got a lot of awards, so they heard from us, heard from that, and then they reached out to us, and these are mostly incoming leads which were getting converted into sort of practical. The reason is because we did have the regulatory clearance for both Europe and US, and it was possible for us to expand to any other country quickly, right? So that is what we did. But coming back to the statistics part you mentioned, right? So breast cancer is definitely a major issue today. 2,000 lives go every day because of this disease. That's 684,000 women per year. And unfortunately, more than 50% of these cancer deaths are coming from Asia. It's really pathetic that every alternate lady detected with breast cancer in India is dying within 2 to 5 years, right? So this is pathetic because breast cancer is completely curable. Nobody needs to die of breast cancer, almost, right? But still we have 50% mortality. That is the huge problem, not only in India. Of course, it's true for many other countries also, for various gaps, various reasons. One is, of course, awareness. People think unless there's a lump, there's no need to go to a hospital to do any testing. But as you also mentioned, preventative methods or annual screening is absolutely important. Of course, in UK and US, we have at least 75% of women who have had a mammogram at least once in their lifetime. Of course, the screening rate varies across counties and states, etc. But typically, it is a pretty well established screening methodology funded by the government. It's free and etc. Free for the end user. But whereas in LMIC, lower middle income countries, the screening rate is 2%,
Wow.
2.2% to be exact. So it's pathetically low, which means everyone, almost 98% of them, are detecting by hand, right? And then they go feel a lump, and that's already stage 2, 3. Earlier we detect, less is the treatment cost. Literally 10% is what would be the treatment cost compared to a stage 1 detection versus stage 4 detection. The probability of survival is also reversed. It's probably 20% if it's a stage 4 detection, 95% if stage 1 detection. And the health status of the person after the surgery is also much better in the case of early detection because recurrence chances are lower, uh, other complications are lower, etc. So, in whatever way you think, early detection is very, 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 very important. Obviously, saving lives is definitely important as well. So that is the benefit of doing early detection, not just for breast cancer, it's true for many other cancers. And we are hoping that with partnerships around the world, we may be able, and of course, greater amount of funding, we will be able to convert the current method that we have for thermalytics, which is for breast screening, to detect other type of cancers and abnormalities as well, which we see some instances of or examples of that, and it's pretty encouraging.
Got it. I think the percentage is very, I mean, again, as people, I mean, even in the book, Kate talks about, or even I see generally in India, we always say, okay, women to be strong and, to be resilient. And, so the problem is that, anything, a pain or anything, they're just trying to go through without even coming forward. And, while they try to take care of the family, but they don't even take care of themselves and go and get the early test on time. So that's
Absolutely.
the general problem we see. I mean, I don't know how much of a conversation we have to do to actually push people
A
to
lot of
get that.
awareness spreading. The good
Yeah,
part is instead of going and saying, hey, do clinical self-breast examination, do look for lump and go to hospitals and so on. If you actually, in the same time, if you go and do this test, Thermalytix test in the same village, they'll remember the recall rates are much higher. Oh yeah, I did the test. I need to go again. I go on, so we do this awareness as well as the test together.
I think mammogram is also not advised on all the women. At least, definitely, at least there is an age after which they want to check. So it's not like it's being tested. Especially women with dense breasts cannot be screened effectively with mammography. So this is actually, even eliminating that, issue.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this will become the standard modality for cancer.
How do you think the scale can be in every hospital in India? We should have this part of yearly screening. So if you have to achieve that, what do you think is needed? Where you're heading at this point on that journey?
See, so we are not here to replace any existing methods, right? So there are so many 100,000 diagnostic centers which don't and cannot afford to have a detailed imaging setup because
Today's generation is more of getting everything done on themselves, and because all the ChatGPT and AI coming into play. So that's also a concern or anxiety. They just get the camera and then try to do, and then they constantly think, hey, something I have, or no, that's also a problem. Do you see?
yeah, no, as long as the messaging is taken care of well, right? And
If you like this conversation, please hit the like